We've talked about so many female filmmakers, foreign filmmakers tonight, and there's so many that we're leaving out.
Well, there's so many to talk about, really. I mean,
yes.
Wonderful filmmakers from Iran, from Russia, Cuba, the women filmmakers. I mean, I know a lot about Hollywood and a little about Bollywood, but I learned about Nollywood, the Nigerian film community. There's so much going on internationally.
We are going to end with a couple films, Chantel Ackerman and Jane Campion, two fascinating filmmakers.
Yes, what's happening internationally is so exciting.
Yes. It's so interesting because we've been talking about all these female filmmakers, and tonight we're going to be talking about international breakthrough, starting with France, Jacqueline Audrey, Gigi, and I was like many other people, I thought the only film Gigi was by Vincent Minnelli.
Well, and here it is. This is what, like 8 or 9 years earlier, based, of course, on the Colette novella.
Yes.
It's fun, if you're a fan of the Leslie Caron, to see how many of the lines are the same. I mean, it's in Colette's novella.
Yeah.
And you have a little different Gigi here, but it's very much the same story.
And another thing I thought was interesting, and we're going to be following this film up with Agnès Varda, but in France, it seems very different than in American movies, that there was always a tradition of women directors. It doesn't seem as unusual there.
Well, true, but one of the things about this time is, once again, with World War II, you know, that had devastated European filmmaking. And so this is 1948, it's a very exciting time. Jacqueline's, I think, directed her first film in 1946. She'd worked with Pabst and Ophüls. She was trained well, and then went out and made over a dozen films. And this is one of, I think, 3 Colette novellas she put into films. So it's interesting to yet another woman we haven't necessarily heard a lot about before, but who had a very substantial and successful career.
Yes, and again, someone that we're going to see later on, a very traditional filmmaker, and then somebody like Agnès Varda comes along and wants to break against that tradition, but it captures a certain time in, I don't know, in the Belle Epoque, I would
yes,
say.
Exactly.
Where things were beautiful and you laid around in bed and ate chocolates.
Well, when I remember, you know, calling my mother at one point, because Faye Kanan, who is a very dear friend, she and I would see the movie Gigi with Leslie Caron every time it was shown in town. I mean, which in Los Angeles could be a couple of times a year. And I remember thinking, why do I love this film so much? And it was one of Faye's favorites. So I said, it couldn't have been the first movie I saw. And my mother said, no, dear, it was the first movie you saw several times. And I don't mind telling you, I was a little worried. But, you know, all the courtesan stuff went right over my head. What I realized I got from Gigi as a child was girls were valued. I didn't understand why they were valued.
Yeah.
But thank heavens for little girls. And I realized a lot of the films I was seeing at the time as a child, girls weren't particularly valued. Girls weren't even particularly noticed. So Gigi spoke to me as a very young child that girls were valued.
Fantastic. This is very exciting. From French director Jacqueline Audry in 1948, here is the story of Gigi.